we used to do. No, you couldn't stand tall. So why didn't you call? So many years gone by, but I think about you all the time. Looks like you're changing and all, but why didn't you call? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me? Something in the air, always something in the air. Inexplicable, I can feel it in the air. Can you feel me?
Hello and welcome to FindMyData's first live event. I am very excited to share with you today the launch of the best privacy enhancing service in the world. I have some amazing news planned for you and we're going to see some truly incredible things. But before I go any further, I have some questions for you. How many of you have received endless spam emails? There are over 122 billion spam emails sent every day. How many of you have received those annoying phone calls telling you that you've been in an accident? In 2021 alone, there were over 1 billion nuisance calls made in the UK. How many of you have been victims of scams? Now, I know this is a sensitive subject. This year there were over 870,000 scam reports. But unfortunately, this represents only 20% of the total, which means that there were actually over 4 million scam attempts this year in the UK. From these, there was a registered loss of over £2.35 billion. This represents an average loss of almost £600 per person. That's quite a lot of money to lose to a scam. Now, imagine a world where spams, scams, data breaches, ad targeting, profiling, or ad manipulation doesn't exist. Doesn't it look beautiful? That's exactly what we're going to accomplish here at FindMyData. Today, we're going to introduce a privacy service that will enable and empower you to actually take back control of your personal information. But first, how did it all start? How did we get into this situation? Since before the year 2000, many companies have entered the market, with many of them offering free services. Have you ever wondered how these companies survive or reach valuations of billions of pounds? Well, if you don't pay for a product, you are the product. But what exactly does this mean? It means that if you use a product or a service that looks free, in reality the company which provides it has other means of generating incomes. If by curiosity you actually decide to look more into them, you'll see that the real price you pay is represented by your private information. Your personal information has become the most valuable currency on the market, and it's been that way for over a decade. Besides the fact that these companies collect too much of their users' personal data, they can find out what types of ads work on you, when are you most likely to buy, or even when you are feeling depressed or vulnerable. Ever started to feel a little paranoid when you were talking about the product and 2 days later it appeared on your searches? That's exactly what happens. As you may know, there are many organizations that sell your personal data. And when I say many others, I refer to organizations like supermarkets, betting companies, or even your local council. And what does all this data selling lead to? I'm sure you remember Cambridge Analytica. Back then, there were no rules, no laws strong enough or updated, and no regulators specialized in user privacy. It was like the 21st century virtual Wild West. That's what enabled Cambridge Analytica to gather users' personal information from many sources like social media platforms and data brokers. The company was able to bombard people with little games where they would answer a few basic questions and they would tell you what kind of personality you have or what type of person you are. Everyone thought these were funny and great to share with friends, but no one really thought what these silly little games could accomplish. And I have a feeling that the same thing is going to happen with this new trend of face swapping. It is said that at one point, Cambridge Analytica had over 3,000 pieces of information about every person in the database. Let's be clear, Cambridge Analytica had gathered information about over 70 million people from US alone. Fast forward from 2016 to 2018, when the EU introduced the GDPR, the law that would give people back control over their data. This law made it easier for people to decide what they wish to do with their personal information from companies. Sounds good, right? Absolutely. Up until you actually want to put it in practice. A few years ago, I decided to put in practice this miraculous GDPR, and I found that it's more difficult than I originally thought. I found that it takes a lot of time to do it, and many companies make the process a lot harder than it needs to be. But I was still tired and frustrated about how many spam emails I received every day, how many nuisance calls I had, and how many scam attempts I had. So I decided to ask companies for a copy of my personal data. Some companies had the basic information like my name, phone number, email and address, but there were others that surprised me and even shocked me. I found that some companies gather data about me from multiple other sources or from the things that I did on their platforms. All this information was gathered and in some cases was sold to other companies. I felt really exposed and vulnerable when I found out about this. When I use a company, a product or a service, I expect a certain level of trust between myself and the company. I expected them to gather some information about me, like many do, but the most important thing is I expected them to keep it for themselves. And I would have thought that they would use that data to actually help me. Most definitely, I didn't expect them to sell it to others. Another good example of data selling happened to me about a year ago. One day, while checking my email, I received a welcome email from a strange company, thanking me for subscribing to the newsletter. Quick note, I didn't do such a thing, and I never even heard about them. So I decided to look more into this company. I asked for a few details from them, and I had quite a surprise. I found that this company was from the US and was operating only within the US, and that they bought my email address from 2 other US-based companies, which I've never heard about. Why did I share this personal story with you today? I wanted to show you that everyone's personal data is shared and sold on a daily basis by companies that you've never even heard about. I share these stories to show you just how easy it is for scammers to obtain your personal information. Imagine if a scammer bought a database with people's email addresses or phone numbers. Most of the time, they would pay a few £100. How do I know this? Because a few days ago, I was offered a database with over 2 million email addresses from the US for only £600. Do you remember what I said earlier about scams? In 2021, there were over £2.35 billion lost to scammers. Can you imagine the investment return ratio? It's huge. That's why it's very important to actually do something about your personal data and protect and defend your privacy. I think it's time to talk about some positive things now. Sometimes, or should I say about once in a decade, there's a new twist and a new step forward for humankind. Today, I'm proud to say that we at FindMyData have taken this step forward. Today, I am very excited to introduce to you the best privacy enhancing service in the world, mData. mData empowers you to actually take back control of your personal information. mData is the best tool you can use to protect yourself against scams, data breaches, and many other privacy dangers. mData was designed with you in mind. mData empowers you to protect, defend, and preserve your privacy. I'm proud to say that FindMyData privacy is made simple. mData can be used for many reasons. Some of you want to stop getting scammed. Some of you had your data exposed in data breaches and want to prevent it from happening again. Some of you are concerned about your digital information and want to take your first step into preserving it. And some of you just want something simple like updating your details from organizations after you've just moved. mData does everything for you and more with just a tap. You simply decide what companies you're interested in and we'll do the rest. It's that easy. Let's look at what exactly you can do with mData. You can find what companies know about you. This is like using a credit reference agency. If you're using them to stay on top of your finances, using mData helps you remain in control of your data. mData gives you the ability to see your personal information from any organization you want, like private companies, schools, banks, GPs, hospitals, government, or even the police. This enables you to always be in control of your personal data. You can track your data. mData gives you the ability to find out which companies have your personal information. I really love this. It enables you to find which companies share or sell your personal data, and most importantly, to whom. I was really surprised to find where my personal information went, and it was all thanks to this. You can restrict the way your data is processed. Besides the fact that you can track your data and find who has it, mData gives you the power to stop companies from doing everything they want with it. This gives you control over the information and stop organizations of any type from selling it. I'm sure you've heard about how many data breaches take place every year. And I'm sure that, like myself, you see some random companies that were exposed to this, and you'd never think that they had anything to do with you. Hopefully, they wouldn't have any of their data that could expose you. But the way companies sell users' personal information, you'd never know. It's better to stop companies from selling your data and reduce the risk of being exposed to data breaches, as these could lead to many other problems. For example, your account could be hacked, Your information could be sold even further by hackers, or you could become the next victim to a scam. So, my advice to you would be to be proactive and do something about your personal information before it's too late. Let's say you found a company that you don't use that has your personal information. What do? mData gives you the power to delete your data. This way, you can remove any trace of your information from the company's database, and by doing so, you can reduce the risk of being exposed in a potential data breach. Since we're talking about data breaches, let me ask you this. Do you know what happens with users' data after a breach? Hackers either ask for ransom from that company to avoid exposure, or they simply sell it on forums. Do you know what happens when that data is sold? It increases even more your risk of becoming a victim to scams. This is why it's better to just delete your data from companies that you don't use. With mData, you can move your personal information from one organization to another. Let's say, for example, that your phone contract just finished, or your car insurance expired, and you found a better deal on another company. Now, you can simply move all your personal data from the previous company to the new one. We've taken away all the hassle you have when switching providers. These are just the core features and the most important aspects that will enable you to take back control of your personal information and start protecting your privacy. Of course, there are many other elements that make mData such a powerful tool. One of them is data update. A few years ago, I just moved to a different house and I had to update all my details, from my bank to my GP, national insurance number, and many others. You can imagine that contacting or completing forms for each of these takes a lot of time to do it. Now, there's a much better option. Now, you can use mData and update all your details everywhere with just a click. All these features will help you protect and control your personal information. But what if you also want to protect your family's privacy? I am proud to say that mData is the only privacy service in the world that empowers you to protect your children's privacy. Children these days spend more and more time online, on social media, playing video games, or even attending school's classes. Do you remember what I said earlier about companies that collect too much of the user's personal data? This applies to everyone. Yeah, even your child's information is sold to third parties. Since our children represent the future, we want to protect them in any way, especially in the digital environment. This is why I am very excited to tell you that all the features presented earlier, like see a copy of your data, track your data, delete your data, or restrict data processing, can also be applied for your child. And everything is included in your subscription plan, available from your dashboard. We have analyzed the industries where your child's personal data can appear, and these are represented mainly by schools, mobile games, and apps. You can simply log in into your FindMyData account, search the company you're interested in, or tell us the name of the company, and we'll do the rest. It's really easy. Now that I talked about all these amazing features, I think it's time to see it in action. I've connected my phone to the screen so you can see what I'm doing.
A few important things to point out before moving forward. After you have successfully registered on the platform and your account is approved, you will be provided with a personalized link so that no one else has access to it. Besides this, you will also be provided with a unique password, which you'll need in order to access your account. We have implemented this process to increase the security of your personal information on our platform. Now that we've talked about the registration process, let's access the dashboard and see what it looks like. As you can see, I've saved my personalized link on my home screen for easy access. When accessing your account, you will need to log in and add your unique password. And this is how your dashboard will look like. You'll see here your privacy status, your account type, and you will see all your requests where you can follow their progress. Once a request is completed, you will be presented with three options: delete your data, restrict processing, or move data. These options will help you control what a company does with your personal information. Once you have decided the outcome, this will appear under your request. This will help you keep track of your personal information. Under your request, you will find a list of popular companies. If you wish to proceed with a company that is not among the popular ones, you can tell us the name of the organization you're interested in by completing this form. Through this form, you will have access to over 40,000 global companies. Now that we've seen how this section looks like, let's look at the children's privacy section. As I said earlier, from our research, we found that your child's personal information is most likely to appear on organizations like schools, video games, and apps. Like before, you can either choose a company from our popular list or tell us the name of the organization you're interested in. Privacy is finally made simple with mData.
Everything we saw until now make mData such a powerful tool. And that's why I am confident to say that mData is the best privacy enhancing service in the world for you and your family. mData comes in two versions. You have the choice between monthly and yearly subscription plans. With mData, you have access to all its features for up to 3 organizations every month. You will be able to see a copy of your personal information, track your data and see if it was shared or sold and to whom. You can stop companies from sharing or selling your information, or stop them from processing for certain purposes. Or, if you want to, you can even delete that data from their system. All these come with a monthly plan of £6.99 or an annual plan of £69.99. mData does everything you want and more. Here at FindMyData, we are determined to protect people against scams. This is why we have introduced a free tool where you can either report a scam or seek advice in regards to a potential scam. And we call it the Scam Prevention Program. If you are certain that you have seen a scam attempt, you can report it immediately by providing the scammer's phone number or email address, depending on how they've contacted you. If you received an email, text, or phone call and you're not sure if it is indeed legitimate or a scam, you can simply report it to us. You can provide the phone number or email address from which you have received the potential scam, Provide a screenshot with the message or describe the situation, and one of our privacy experts will analyze this for you and will contact you within 24 hours with the results. We have made it possible for everyone to join our program and receive the weekly notification with a full list of scams that appeared and how to protect against them. This way, we can help as many people as possible keep safe. Many people are afraid to speak up or don't know how to stop their data from being exploited. But it's up to us to make the world a better place for ourselves and for future generations. It's in our hands to make data privacy a default feature everywhere. So I want you to remember this. Be confident and say no to data sharing. Be proud of your privacy. Be bold and protect your personal data. Thank you.